Okay, it being 5:30 the clock, I shall call this regular meeting of the Council of the Town of Fort Frances to order, it being session number 54. We'll begin with a territorial acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are within Treaty 3 territory and that the land on which we live and work is the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people and the homeland of the Métis Nation. As taught by a Treaty 3 Ojibwe elder, when we speak about the land, we recognize that we are the land. The land is all of us, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous. The land is a collection of our history, our current experiences, and our future together. We offer this land acknowledgement in the spirit of reconciliation, recognizing the historical and contemporary impacts of colonialism, while committing to working together as Indigenous and non-Indigenous people to build a better future. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest, and if so, state the general nature thereof? Councillor Bernetta?
Thank you. I have a conflict with item 9.5, which is a 357 application for 213 to 215 3rd Street East. And my conflict is that the applicants are friends of mine.
Thank you, Councillor Bernetta. We've noted that. Okay, that brings us to item number 4, which is council vacancy, and we have 2 recommendations. I'll put the first recommendation on the floor. Recommendation reads that council receive report AR-24-0598 entitled Filling of Council Vacancy, and that a bylaw be enacted to appoint Caleb Firth to the vacant councillor seat. I need a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Bien, Councillor McTaggart. Is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call. Oh, Councillor Mackey.
I'd like that we record vote.
Okay. Madam Clerk, when we vote, we'll be doing a recorded vote. Do you want to call the roll?
Thank you, Your Worship. Recorded vote's been called by Councillor Mackey. Councillor Behan?
Yay.
Councillor Bernetta?
Yay.
Councillor Mackey?
Nay.
Councillor McTaggart?
Yay.
Councillor Olson?
Nay.
And Mayor Halikas?
Yay. The motion is carried. We have another recommendation under item 4.1. Recommendation reads that bylaw 44-24, being a bylaw to fill a vacancy in the office of a member of council, be introduced and read and finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal, and become law forthwith. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Olson and Councillor Bernetta. Any discussion on this motion? I have a request for a recorded vote. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councillor Mackey?
Councillor Mackey.
Councillor Mackey called for a recorded vote. We will start with Councillor Behan.
Yay.
Councillor Bernetta?
Yay.
Councillor Mackey?
Nay.
Councillor McTaggart?
Yay.
Councillor Olson?
Nay.
And Mayor Halikas?
Yay. The motion carries. With that, we will call our clerk to administer the official oath of office to Caleb Firth. Caleb, would you come down, please?
So tonight we gather for a significant occasion as we welcome Mr. Caleb Firth to the Town Council. I want to acknowledge the unique nature of tonight's appointment. While Mr. Firth's role to the council comes through an appointment rather than an election, His acceptance of this new role underscores the importance of civic engagement and community involvement in our democratic process. Your commitment to being part of this council term speaks volume about your dedication to our community. As we proceed with the ceremony, reaffirming our commitment to democracy and inclusivity, let us also take a moment to reflect on the responsibilities and privileges that come with public service. We entrust our elected officials with the task of representing the interest of our community and upholding the values that define us. With that said, let us witness the swearing in of Mr. Caleb Firth, appreciating the significance of his commitment and the positive impact of an active civic participation. Please come forward. For approximately the next 2.5 years, is the remainder of this council term, you'll be appointed as councillor of the town of Fort Frances. Are you prepared to take a solemn declaration of office as well as an oath of allegiance to King Charles III?
Yes.
This. If you please place your left hand and raise your right hand and read the declaration of office, after which a pledge of your fidelity to render this solemn declaration, you will affix your signature to the prescribed form in a token of a submission thereto.
I, Caleb Firth, having been appointed to the office of councillor in the town of Fort Frances, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in biased, corrupt, or any improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, and I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as it is made under oath.
Take a seat and sign this. Your Worship, members of council, I can now confirm that your council is now complete and ready to tackle the next challenges and opportunities that lie ahead of you. Hopefully we move forward and optimistic, full of optimism and determination. And thank you very much, and congratulations to your appointment. Thank you. And Your Worship, I will turn the floor back over to you for
Okay.
business.
And Councillor Firth, you may take your place in your duly appointed seat over here at the end of this table. Okay. That brings us to item number 5, which is delegations and deputations. I'll do 5.1 to 5.4 altogether. 5.1 to 5.4 are all applications for tax changes. Are there any delegations present? I see none. I'll ask one more time. Are there any delegations present? Are there any delegations present? Seeing none, we will move on to a present delegation. Item number 6, under presentations, we have the Fort Frances Public Library and Technology Center presenting their annual report. And with us this evening, we have their CAO, Richard B., and we have the chair of the Fort Frances Public Library Board, Ms. Sherry DeGagne.
Your Worship and Council, thank you for inviting us to give a presentation tonight. My name is Sherry DeGagne, and I was born in Fort Frances. My father was raised on 6th Street West, which is now the industrial park of Fort Frances. My mom was raised at the Dewdrop Inn, which is now Rainy Lakes North. I am the chair of the Fort Frances Public Library Board. With generous support from Town Council, our library is able to provide a wide range of services. I love how our library ignites the spark of joy and curiosity in people of all ages. Children building with Lego, youth playing Pokemon, and adults learning to bead. Our library contributes to a better quality of life and free access to learning and entertainment. This frees up household money needed to spend on safe and nutritious food. Our library provides a vital service, making our community stronger. Please welcome our library CEO, Richard B., who will present our 2023 annual report.
Thank you very much, everybody, for your attention for today. So as you can see on the screen here, we are presenting the 2023 annual report. So this is a roughly 10-page document that highlights some of the details over the past year. So for the first page, we have expansion on the speech that our board chair, Sherry, just gave, so a message from the chair itself. We also highlight the members who are part of the library board. We did have a board member who did resign back in September, so there was a replacement in November, hence what the stipulations are for Janet Lambert and Ken Keller. Next page, please. The next page, so this one focuses on some of the numbers generated through the 2023 calendar year. So for the total circulation, you'll see that we have broken down circulation for much of the collections in the library itself. So we highlight the physical collection, which consists of the children's, teen, and adult, along with the DVD and video games. And then we also focus on our digital or electronic collection, which consists of the e-book, e-audiobook, and e-magazines. Below that, we also highlight the programming and services attendance over the course of the year. So there is a bit of a distinguishment between programming and services. So in this case here, programming such as Pokemon Club or with Lego Club, that's kind of captured in the number of programs offered and number of attendees. Tech help is a more specific service that the library offers. So we have a staff member who is the IT coordinator. He will schedule appointments with people and provide one-on-one tech service. So if people have issues with their own devices that they would like assistance with, he's able to assist them with that. And then we also have two volunteers who come in to help people with genealogy sessions. So the library does have a subscription to Ancestry.ca. So they come into the library, they walk through with the person some ancestry or genealogical research for the people there. And then finally, we have some additional statistics that are listed here. So we show a total number of members, and then people who have used our public computers in the course of the year, Wi-Fi connections, people who've booked the spaces that are available in the library, which consists of 2 study rooms and the Shaw room, and as well the total number of visits that we had with people coming in through the door over the full calendar year. Next page, please. So the next page focuses on the revenues and expenses that were generated over the course of the year. Now, there was a little bit of a rounding matter here just through because this rounds up to the nearest dollar, so that's the reason why there's a $1 difference between revenues and the expenses. But overall, the revenues highlights the contribution that we received through the town of Fort Frances, the municipal contributions, transfer that the library made from the reserve fund into the operation budget, and then additional revenues that were made over the course of the year. And then, of course, highlighting the various expenses that the library had over the course of the 2023 fiscal year. So next page, please. So the next part is sort of the key focus of this report. So in last year, Ontario Library Services they partnered with the Nordic Institute, which I believe is one of the Algoma University. Is that the one that's Sudbury? But anyway, so they partnered with Nordic Institute to create what they called the Valuing Ontario Libraries Toolkit, or VOLT for short. So the purpose of this toolkit is designed to create a quantifiable number to actually represent the social return on investment that a public library has on its community. So as social return on investment, being SRI for short. So the toolkit itself specifically focuses on 7 distinct categories. So it focuses on education, inclusion and well-being, economic development, space, civic engagement, entertainment and leisure, and finally culture. And then it takes information that is generally gathered by public libraries in the course of the year, as libraries are required to provide a report to the provincial government, both from like circulation stats, attendance, such that, is able to take that information as well as the financial information and is able to generate information to highlight the SROI. So this toolkit specifically highlights 4 different attributes from the toolkit, specifically total economic value of the library, economic benefit of an open hour of the library, the per capita SROI, and then finally the municipal return on investment. So that's what we're highlighting in the toolkit here, or the report here, pardon me. So the first item that we're wanting to highlight, the total expenses versus total economic value. So in 2023, overall expenses, and this doesn't factor in revenues to offset those expenses, was around $761,000. Based on just having the library in place and offering the various services that the library does, the actual economic value that the library generated for the town of Fort Frances was over $3.5 million. So a very substantial return on investment right there, just in terms of economic value. For the next item, we highlight the cost of an open hour of the library versus the economic benefit of having an open hour. So calculating the number of hours that we had over the course of the year, which was around over 2,600, and based on the total expenses, works out to roughly $227 an hour as an expense. But in terms of overall economic benefit, it became over $621. And then for the per capita cost, so this is the for each individual residing within Fort Frances, if you were to take how much each individual person pays in terms of their overall taxes, it works out to roughly $83.92 a per capita cost. What they get in return, based on social return on investment, is almost $500. So they get a very substantial return on investment for just having the library in the location. And then for the next page, please. So the biggest number is in terms of an actual economic value. For every dollar that the town of Fort Frances actually gives to the library, just for us to be able to be open and offer our services to the community, the town gets back $6 in return. So for every dollar spent, $6 is returned. And then finally, the report concludes with an acknowledgement to our volunteers, as we do have quite a few different various groups and people who assist the library over the course of the year with various things, not just in terms of with programming, but also just with our facilities too. Like for instance, the Horticultural Society, they plant flowers and maintain the flowers around the building. And likewise with the stewardship, they do a lot of work with the trees and with the garden space that we have as well. And also, of course, our friends of the library, very active, very helpful to the library for many different various things, so we want to give great thanks to them. And then, of course, they have donation from grant recognition, so we're highlighting all the various grants and donations that we've received over the course of the year. Unfortunately, can't name every one because that would probably make up about 20 more pages for the report. So we just kind of highlighted some of the main ones, especially for the grants. And then we just included some of the pictures of events and programs that occurred over the course of the year at the library. And that concludes our report.
Thank you very much, library people. Councilors, do you have any questions or comments on the report? Yes, Councilor Mackey.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question is return on investment. You repeatedly speak to the return, like $6 for every dollar. Mm-hmm. Can you give us some examples as to what is being done what is happening in the town that generates that $6 return on every dollar?
So you can imagine various things. So for instance, just people being able to come to the library and borrow a book. That right there prevents some, or is a money they don't have to spend. And when you factor in some books may cost over $40 to buy brand new, that's more money in that person's pocket. They're able to spend money on going to a dinner in town or going into a store in town to buy goods that way. Another option is that if people are coming into the library and they're needing to send out or print out resumes, applications, that increases people being able to join in the local workforce. So that creates economic value through that activity. People being able to come into the library to just hang out or to meet with their friends. So there's the mental wellness for people. That generates economic value because then you don't have as much of a health cost associated with people being isolated. Or even just with the library being open and being able to serve as a cooling center when the really hot days, or a warming center in the really cold days. So that provides its own benefit right there.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor McTaggart?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Mr. B, for your presentation, and thank you to the board and the volunteers and the staff at the library. It's a great facility. I had a similar question to Councillor Mackey, so I won't repeat. I guess as we struggled with last year's budget and budgets going ahead, I don't think are going to be any kinder to us. Is the library working on any methods to generate more revenue for the library itself?
There are some plans in the works. I think the biggest thing that's happening right now is we are exploring expanding service to nearby First Nations communities within the town here. So we're kind of exploring potential options to maybe have a similar arrangement with other communities, similar to what we have with the Township of Alberton, for instance, where we have an agreement in place where every year we receive X amount of revenue from the township, and we provide free library service to their residents. So that's one thing we're looking at. A few other things, we have other work that needs to be done first before we can really start exploring into that. Potential option might be, we do have TVs in our facility, potential option for maybe ad revenue that way. That's just more of a spitball idea, but the service arrangements are sort of the starting point that we're working at.
Councillors, other questions? I have a couple of comments. First of all, on your statistics, I'm impressed with the statistics. They're very impressive statistics for a town of, roughly 7,500 people. In many cases, the statistics indicate that, on average, more than the population of the town of Fort Frances is availing themselves of library services in certain areas. I know that our library is well respected and well used, so compliments to you on that. And just to comment on the Volt, over the years, I've seen other ways of analyzing the economic benefit of libraries to communities, and they're fairly consistent. There's different ways of coming at them, but they do generate return on dollars. They do generate value. So I was pleased to see that you included that in your report. And with that, we thank you very, very much for your report, and you're welcome to stay for the rest of the council meeting if you like. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to correspondence. Item 7.1 is a letter from the Northwestern Health Unit on household food security. I had this put on, but before I speak to it, I'll ask if there are any other councillors that wanted to speak to it. I guess it's just me then. And the letter's in our package, so I encourage people in the community to have a look at the letter. It deals with food insecurity, and basically the premise is that everyone in northwestern Ontario should have access to safe, nutritious, and culturally appropriate food, but yet that's not the case. The number of households that are undergoing food insecurity are increasing, and it's not just households that are on social assistance. Over half of the households on undergoing food insecurity are people in the workforce. So it's a serious problem, and there's some recommendations in there that suggest that municipalities could be helping out in some ways. What I'd like to do is I'd like to put an oral motion on the floor that the Council of Fort Francis supports and endorses this letter from the Northwestern Health Unit on food insecurity. And could I get a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Mackey, Councillor Olson. Would anyone like to speak to that? Okay, with that, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried and no one was opposed. Item 7.2, also an appropriate letter that I pulled and asked for it to be put on the council agenda. Every municipality in the province of Ontario is undergoing difficulties with paying for their aging infrastructure, but in particular, small rural northern communities are being hit hard because we just don't have the resources that larger southern communities do. So this particular letter from the municipality of Matawan is calling on the provincial and federal governments to put in place sustainable infrastructure funding for small rural communities. And folks, that's us. So again, I'd like to put an oral motion on the floor saying that council supports the resolution from Mattawa on sustainable funding for infrastructure. And again, could I get a mover and seconder, please? Councillor, Councillor Renetta, thank you. And seconded by Councillor McTaggart. Any discussion on that? I'll call that question. All in favor? And that's carried, and no one is opposed to that. And thank you very much, councils. Point one is my report. I'll just very quickly want to give some shout outs. I like to deal with good news. On May 23rd, the paramedics, the district paramedics had a series of barbecues, but on May 23rd, they had one in Fort Francis. I just want to give a shout out to all of the paramedics in the Rainy River District. They're working shorthanded. They do an unbelievable job keeping us safe and looking after us when we get into difficulties. So thank you very much to the Rainy River District paramedics. On May 24th, there was media trainings put on by the DSAB, and I wanted to give a shout out to our clerk and our deputy clerk who attended that media training. It was an excellent session, and all of us got a great deal out of that. On May 25th, another really good event was held. First responders of the district held a meet and greet in the Canadian Tire parking lot. The OPP was there, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry was there, paramedics were there, and of course our fire department was there. So a shout out to all of them, but in particular to our fire department. If anybody had a chance to go there, the prime display was our brand new fire truck with its ladder fully extended up in the air and a flag on the end. You could see that from all over town. And our fire department also had a booth inside where they were giving out information and very, very colorful toys that people's grandchildren would love. So thank you very much to the first responders of the Rainy River District. The good library people mentioned some volunteers. They mentioned the Friends of the Library. Again, I want to give a shout out to the Friends of the Library. On May 25th, the Friends of the Library held their annual book sale. They do this every year. It's a lot of work because they literally have tons of books if you weigh them. And it's very well attended. The Friends raise a lot of money, thousands of dollars with this sale every year to help support our library. So thank you very much, Friends of the Library, for the wonderful work that you do. And June is Pride Month, and on May 31st at the Civic Center here, we raised the Pride flag, and thanks to Borderland Pride, they gave us a brand new updated flag, and we issued a proclamation declaring June Pride Month in the town of Fort Francis. Just a reminder to everybody that Pride is having a number of activities this month. And in fact, this coming Saturday, there's a very special activity where Pride will be having to my knowledge, the only international Pride March in the world where they actually cross a border. At 10:30, there'll be speeches in International Falls at Smokey the Bear Park, and then there'll be the Pride March from International Falls across the bridge through Customs to Rainy Lake Square, after which there'll be a barbecue. That same day, the Pride held their inaugural event at all places at the library. It was a well-attended event. They had a big, colorful arch with all of the Pride colors on it, and they were serving cupcakes that had all of the different Pride colors of icing, and there were a number of activities that could take place there. I want to give a shout out again to Borderland Pride, but I want to give a shout out to our new CAO, who has been already in a very stressful, busy startup, been out and about in the community. So he attended that event. He also attended the Borderland concert, I believe, where he was the MC this past Saturday. So a shout out to our CAO for that, and of course, a hearty welcome to our CAO for his very first inaugural council meeting. So welcome, Marcel. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you.
And that's the end of my shout outs. We'll go to council reports. I believe Councillor Mackey has a report.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Your Worship. In regards to the Senior Center, as you know, June is Seniors Month, and looking at the calendar that they have, there's almost every day of the month is booked with something going on. I strongly recommend, if you get a chance, stop down. They've got breakfasts, they've got pool tournaments, bridge, smear, Scrabble, outdoor walks, a river walk. There's a butter tart contest on the 17th.
I object. I object because you're the judge. Sorry. But
Darn it.
And so is Councillor McTaggart. And I don't recall getting an invitation to help judge that.
That's right. So when you do if you do get a chance, please stop by, explore the facility, and partake in some of the events of the Senior Month. Thank you.
And if I could, I'll just add to that. I had so much in my report. I forgot to give the shout out to the Senior Center, but I knew that you would do that. You spoke about breakfast. I was there for the kickoff breakfast. They very kindly asked me to say a few words, but not to judge the butter tart contest. And so I went over and we issued another proclamation declaring June Seniors Month as well. And yes, there are many, many activities. That's all I'm going to say. Councillor McTaggart, no report? Okay. So with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. So, item 9.2. Recommendation reads that council approve the regular council meeting minutes of May 27, 2024, that they be approved as presented. 9.3 deals with boards and committee meeting minutes, and the recommendation reads that the boards and committee meeting minutes be received as information, and they are the Fort Frances Public Library minutes of April 18, 2024, and the Committee of Adjustment minutes of April 17, 2024. And then also the Fort Frances Public, that's already read. Okay. 9.4 is a resignation of one of our volunteers, Mary Hickling. The recommendation reads that council receive the resignation notice dated June 3rd, 2024 from Mary Hickling to the Museum and Culture Advisory Committee with thanks and appreciation for services. 9.5 This is an application for tax release. The recommendation reads, the council approve report number AR 24-0600 for the adjustment of taxes in the amount of $287.90 for 2023 for the period August 11, 2023 to December 31st, 2023 under Section 357/358 of the Municipal Act for the property located at 213 to 215 3rd Street East. 9.6 is another application for tax relief. The recommendation is that council approve report number AR-24-0602 for the adjustment of taxes in the amount of $126.75 for the period September 10, 2023 to December 31st, 2023 under Section 357/358 of the Municipal Act for property located at 220 3rd Street East. 9.7, another application, and the recommendation reads, the council approve report number AR-24-0603 for the adjustment of taxes in the amount of $881.79 for the period January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023 under Section 357/358 of the Municipal Act for property located at 1020 1st Street East. 9.8, another application for tax relief. Recommendation is that council approve report number AR-24-0605 for the adjustment of taxes in the amount of $314.32 for the period of November 9, 2023 to December 31st, 2023 under Section 357/358 of the Municipal Act for property located at 621 1st Street West. 9.9 deals with municipally significant events, and this is the Town of Fort Frances Summer Event Series. Recommendation reads that council receive report AR-24-0601 relating to the Recreation and Culture Division's Summer Event Series being designated as a municipally significant event, and that council provide a resolution to the administration at the June 24th regular meeting of council to designate the Recreation and Culture Division's Summer Event Series as a significant municipal festival and event. Councilors, would you like to pull any of those? Councilor McTaggart.
9, please.
9.9? Anything else? Oh, yes, and Councilor Bernetta did declare a conflict on 9.5. Anything else you'd like pulled? Okay, before we go to 9.9, which is Councilor Bernetta's item, we'll deal with 9.5 separately. Councilor Bernetta has declared a conflict of interest, and so I'll read the recommendation again on 9.5, that council approve report AR-24-0600 for the adjustment of taxes in the amount of $287.90 for the 2023 for the period of August 11, 2023 to December 31st, 2023 under Section 357/358 of the Municipal Act for property located at 213 to 215 3rd Street West. I need a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Behan, Councillor Olson. Any discussion on that one? All in favor? That's carried. No one was opposed. Councillor Bernetta declared a conflict. Okay, moving now back to 9.9, Councillor McTaggart.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I just need some clarity on what we're trying to achieve with this particular motion. Is it so that we can get proper licensing for liquor and beer sales? Or my concern is that I'm excited about what's going to come, what you have planned, but because we say it's a significant event does not make it so. So I'm wondering what the background to it is.
Manager Young.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through the chair to Councillor McTaggart. The designation of the significant municipal festival or event, you're right, is mainly for us to be able to bring in alcohol sales onto our events. We see that with our external events that we host in town, and for us to be able to offer events to a similar caliber for our events. As we move forward in developing the summer event series, there will be opportunities for evaluation and reflection on the events to ensure that we're continuing forward for growth within council strategic plans priorities that were set of activating the downtown area, as well as providing opportunities for visitors and tourists to come into Fort Frances and stay into Fort Frances. So this really is a step towards us being able to ensure that we're continuing to put budget dollars towards these events, continuing to check the boxes on our permits and licensing, and then be able to achieve these goals that council has set for us.
Thank you, Manager Young. Okay, with that, the recommendation reads that council approve the consent agenda as follows. Agenda items 9.2, 9.3, 9.4, 9.6, 9.7, 9.8. Could I get a mover and seconder on that, please? Councillor McTaggart, Councillor Olson. Any discussion on those items? Calling the question, all in favor? That's carried, no one is opposed. Going back to item 9.
Excuse me, Your Worship.
Yes?
If I may ask just a point of order, perhaps, for the item that Councillor Bernetta declared conflict. Why did we pull it in the first place that we had to do that separate?
We had to vote separately because she had declared a conflict.
Okay, but she wouldn't be voting, so I don't see why. Is that just the governance policy?
Through you, Your Worship. Because it's an item that is included in the consent agenda, Councillor Bernetta would have the opportunity to vote on all the consent items as council would, but she would likely be reserved to not want to express a vote on all the consent item because she has a conflict on one of them. Yeah. So if you pull it out of the pile, then she has the opportunity to vote on the
I understand. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Going back to 9.9 then, the resolution reads that council received report AR-24-0601 relating to the Recreation and Culture Division's summer event series being designated as a municipally significant event, and that council provide a resolution to the administration at the June 24th regular meeting of council to designate the Recreation and Culture Division's summer event series as a significant municipal festival and event. Could I get a mover and seconder on that, please? Councillor Bien, Councillor Mackey. Any discussion on that one? Councillor Bien.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one other question, maybe for Manager Young. Is this something we have to do every year, Mr. Young, or is it something that once we do it once, it covers all the summer series events for, forever? Or is it something we'd have to renew each year? Just curious. Thank you.
Go ahead, Manager Young.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through the chair to Councillor Behan. We're bringing this report forward so that this becomes a municipally significant event for years to come. There is a separate report later on in tonight's agenda specifically to some events that fall outside of the timeline of this current one, but the intent of this report is that our summer series from May 1st to August 31st would be municipally significant for this term of council.
Again, for this term of council? And then the new council would have to do it then? Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Yep.
I might need to lean on the clerk for this one here, but I believe that the new term of council would have an opportunity to revisit this resolution, but I don't believe that it is one that administration would bring forward to the next council.
Through you, Your Worship. So this evening you would be approving the resolution for subsequent years. Having said that, I have had conversation with our new incoming CAO about the introduction of having a municipal significant event policy, which would highlight the organizations and perhaps municipal events that would fall under this policy. So at some point in time, council always has the opportunity to reflect and review on which organizations are municipally designated for a significant event. Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, and that brings us to the question then. I will call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. No one is opposed. Okay, moving to item number 10, Administration and Finance Division reports. There are none. Item 11, under Community Service Division reports, we're back to the municipally significant events. So another recommendation that I'm putting on the floor reads that Council receive report AR 24-0607 relating to the Recreation and Culture Division's Summer Event Series events scheduled for June 27th and July 13th, being designated as municipally significant events, and that Council hereby designate these events as significant municipal festivals and events for summer 2024. Mover and seconder for that, please. Councilor Behan, Councilor Olson. Any discussion on this one? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. No one is opposed. We go to Planning and Development Division reports. I'm going to go then to our Economic Development Officer, I believe, for his very first council report. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, Your Worship, members of council and administration. My name is Martin, for those who are seeing me for the first time. My name is Martin Chitoa, and I serve as the Economic Development Officer for the town of Fort Francis. Before I begin my presentation, I would like to pass my sincere gratitude to Councillor Wendy Brunetta for actually introducing me to the Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association, which is NOMA. Her support has been so much of an instrumental role in my involvement in this significant initiative for the project. So today I'm here to present the 5 key elements of the newly released Time to Grow, a regional economic development plan for Northwestern Ontario 2025 to 2035. Their main objective and goal, and also possible actions that might be taken to achieve them. The comprehensive plan developed through extensive collaboration amongst municipal leaders, economic developers like myself, and various stakeholders aims to foster economic development and sustainable development across our region. As presented in the administrative report AR-24-068 0608, the first key element is access to skilled labor. So its main objective is to increase employment among indigenous individuals by at least 2% annually from 2025 to 2035. What actions? What do we aim to achieve by that? Is to create a liaison committee to support First Nations and Métis peoples' initiatives, as well as promoting mutual understanding through regular meetings with First Nations and Métis peoples' leadership and community organizations. And lastly is by advocating for cultural training opportunities to improve workforce integration and job creation in the tourism sector, amongst others. Key element number 2 is actually quality of life. It is mentioned in the document that municipalities and communities need people, and people need jobs, right? So that being said, it is a collaborative effort amongst all stakeholders to improve quality of life in their communities. What is the objective? Is to enhance access to quality of services and improve community livability, which is the quality of life. So what factors determine quality of life? A few factors come to mind, such as safety of the people, affordability of goods and services, access to amenities, environmental quality, and overall comfort of living. These few factors and other factors encompass how conducive Fort Frances and surrounding communities are for living, contributing to the well-being and satisfaction of their residents. What are the actions? To keep on improving public services. Internet connectivity is also key, and transportation infrastructure, as well as developing community facilities and services within the Rain River District by 2030 and 2035 in continuity. Key element number 3 is infrastructure and public services. What is the objective? To ensure reliable and affordable energy within our communities and improvements on mass transit systems. What are the actions? To enhance electrical transmission infrastructure by focusing more on green or renewable energy sources, and also to develop a 7-day inter-community bus service. And to improve highway safety and accessibility, including better signage and facilities along our highways. Key element number 4 is the access to markets. What is the objective of that? Is to improve transportation links and road safety. And actions: to extend municipal runways and air services, to upgrade winter roads to permanent roads and road networks including highways, and also to enhance the viability and sustainability of municipal airports. The fifth and final key element is housing. And the main goal for that is to address housing affordability and accessibility for all demographics. What are the actions to be taken? To develop housing for seniors and at-risk populations, as well as to ensure affordable housing for renters and home buyers, with specific targets to be met by 2025, 2030, and 2035. What is the strategic plan alignment to this? The endorsement and integration of the Time to Grow plan align perfectly with the Town of Fort Frances strategic plan, particularly in areas focused on economic development, community livability, infrastructure enhancement, and sustainable growth. These efforts ensure that our local initiatives contribute to the broader regional objectives set by NOMA in this document. In conclusion, this comprehensive overview highlights the significant progress made over the past 6 months working on the document, and outlines our local ambitious community economic development goals for the next decade. Endorsing the Time to Grow plan will position Fort Frances to benefit from regional collaboration and shared resources, driving economic growth and enhancing community resilience. The adoption of Time to Grow by NOMA triggered me to actually start working on the Town of Fort Frances' own economic development strategic plans framework, which will be presented to Council for approval, to engage a consulting firm that will actually develop an economic development strategic plan that will be linked to the Town of Fort Frances strategic plan 2023 to 2027 and the recently adopted recreational master plan 2024. I look forward to working closely with all of you to continue driving the economic development of Fort Frances and surrounding communities in the Rain River District. My call to action is that I encourage Council to endorse the key principles and action items outlined in the Time to Grow document. And additionally, I recommend mandating the integration of relevant aspects of the regional plan into our local economic development strategies and initiatives to ensure alignment and enhance our community's growth and resilience. Thank you for your attention. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, EDO Chirua. Councilor, do you have any comments or questions? Councilor Bernetta.
Thank you, Your Worship. And thank you, Martin, for acknowledging my work on this. But all I did was put your name forward and you did all the hard work. So I really appreciate everything that you've done. When this draft document came to NOMA a few months ago, I was really impressed with how well it did align with our strategic plan. So I'm really thankful that they had a copy of it and they reviewed it. And it almost seems like they've taken a lot of things that we had in our strategic plan and put it into this regional economic development plan. So I really look forward to your report that's coming up. And I think it's really showing that we're moving forward in a positive way. So thanks so much for that.
Thank you, Councilor Bernetta. Any other comments or questions? I just want to make one comment. Our EDO was on the work group that developed this plan and got a mention and a thanks in the index at the back. But thank you for your work on this. It really is an impressive document, and I think it is going to help position us very well when we correlate it with our own documents. And so with that, I'll put a recommendation on the floor that Council receive report AR-24-0608 regarding NOMA's Regional Economic Development Plan, and that Council endorse the key principles and action items outlined in the plan, and that Council directs administration to further evaluate the integration of the relevant aspects of the regional plan into the Town of Fort Frances local economic development strategies to ensure alignment and enhance community growth and resilience. Could I get a mover and seconder, please? Councilor Bernetta, Councilor McTaggart. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. No one is opposed. Moving on to item 13, which is Operations and Facilities Division reports. The recommendation here reads that Council approval of report AR-24-0597 agree with the recommendation of administration to approve the unbudgeted capital purchase of a new complete compressor skid for the 52 Canadians Arena at a total cost of $192,299.18, funded out of the Corporate Contingency Reserve Fund. Prior to discussing this, can I get a mover and seconder, please? Councilor Behan, Councilor Olson. Discussion, councilors. Councilor Behan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. You know, it's sort of unfortunate this comes up just less than a month after we had a heated discussion and lengthy debate over unbudgeted capital expenses and et cetera. Unfortunately, this clearly is an emergency that was not anticipated, and how do we deal with this, and so what do you do? I'm of the belief that if we start doing Band-Aid solutions, it's going to break down eventually anyway. So in this case, hopefully the Heritage Fund contribution comes through, and our cost is only about $44,000 or $48,000, not the $192,000 that's on here, but hopefully that comes through. But in this case, I mean, obviously the arena's key to our community and needs and going forward, and so I think I'm in favor of the recommendation to buy the whole new compressor rather than just try and fix it piecemeal here and there, and then we'll run into problems down the road. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Behan. Any other discussion? Councilor Olson.
I just want to have more of a question, I guess, just to confirm. So when I read this, this was the OG compressor to the 52 that's already had an improvement in 2017, correct?
Go ahead.
As far as everyone that's working at the Sports Center now knows, it is original equipment to 1952. Every 5,000 hours, the compressors are rebuilt. So in 2017, it was rebuilt, and it now has another 5,000 hours and was due for rebuild this year.
Further questions? Calling the question. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, that brings us to item 13.2, which is architectural design services for various projects. And the recommendation reads that council approval of report AR-24-0606 will agree with the recommendation of administration to award RFP 2024-OF-05 to Mookie Architectural LP. And further, that the work awarded be limited to the design activities related to the Fort Frances Fire Hall renovations at a total cost of $102,000 plus applicable taxes. And further, that the redesign of the Memorial Sports Center front desk be deferred to another budget year when additional funding has been secured to support that project. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Behan. Councillor Olson. Discussion. Councillor Bernetta. And then Councillor, oh, sorry, it was Councillor McTaggart first, then Councillor Bernetta, sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, am I understanding that we're short on our budgeted amount for this project?
Go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. We are not short on our budgeted amount because we budgeted for the project in its entirety. Of that entire project budget, we had it set aside $90,000 for design activities. So that internal component is short by about $12,000, but the overall budget allocation is not.
So then we don't
Follow up.
So we don't need to be going into reserves for this portion then. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bernetta?
That was exactly my question. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Then calling the question. All in favor? That's carried. No one is opposed. Okay, that brings us to bylaws. I have only one tonight. Recommendation reads that bylaw 45-24 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement with Miller Group, RE, RFT 2024-OF-04 HSP event be introduced and read and finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with a corporate seal and become law forthwith. Could I get a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Bernetta, Councillor Mackey. Any discussion? All in favor? It's carried. This brings us to item number 15. Pardon me, yes, item number 15, and there is no notice of motion. Moving to item 16, which is closed session. We'll be putting a motion on the floor that we move into closed session. The recommendation reads that council now meet in camera in order to address a matter pertaining to a notice of application for a judicial review DC-24-00000008-00JR. And this falls under 239E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or the local board. Could I get a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Mackey, Councillor Olson. And just before I call the question, we are proceeding in camera at 6:33. All in favor? And that's carried. For those of you at home, council will now be going into closed session where we'll discuss a matter related to a judicial review. And at the end of that closed session, we'll return to open session and report. To our confirmatory bylaw. And the recommendation reads that bylaw 46-24 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the corporation of the town of Fort Frances be introduced, read, and finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal, and become law forthwith. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Behan, Councillor Mackey. Any discussion? All in favor? It's carried. No one being opposed. Finally, that having reached the hour of, I don't have Travis here. 7:01. All right, on the bit, 7:01. Oh, he's on it. Having reached the hour of 7:01, this meeting of the Council of the Town of Fort Frances be now closed. Mover and Councillor McTaggart, Councillor Mackey. All in favor? That's carried.